Well, what is the right amount of money to take out of your retirement plan at retirement? Today we're going to take a look. Stay tuned for Prudent Money. Good afternoon. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining me today. You know I do appreciate it, and I do have a line open if you'd like to call in and join the program. The number to call is 1-877-913-5357. 1-877-913-5357. You can also go to the website at www.prudentmoney.com. Send a question to the Ask Bob section, and I will get you taken care of. That's all at the website, www.prudentmoney.com. 1-877-913-5357. We'll start out with Wall Street today. Really not much to talk about. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down just about 0.5%. The S&P 500 was down a little under 0.25%. The NASDAQ was neither up nor down. It was just what we call flat. Didn't earn anything, didn't gain anything. It was one of those days where we're going to see if there's any follow-through from yesterday's big declines, and really probably saw just about what we thought we'd see. Had one economic report came out this morning that showed a contracting or declining economy again, and markets didn't take to that too well. And then you have employers. There's a story in the LA Times about, you remember when the employers started becoming desperate for employees, and became a supply and demand issue. And then the employers started raising the amounts of salaries and income that they would give to people who would take a job. And I always thought that was really odd compared to the number of people through the pandemic that filed for unemployment benefits, because that to me is the true number of people who are affected by the economy and who had lost their job. I mean, it makes total sense that you would be filing for an unemployment claim if you just lost your job. And it was somewhere in the 90 million person range, which was just unbelievable. And of course, we had that dynamic going, and then you all of a sudden you had this optic that Washington wanted you to believe that there was a shortage of good people to work jobs. So the supply was, there was not very, there was a lot of jobs, and the demand was that people didn't want them. People didn't want to work. Well, this story that came out said that it not to be surprised if in some areas of the country that instead of laying off people, you might see employers say, you know, I've been paying you way too much of a premium. Now I can't do that. And we're going to bring your salary down to levels that they should be at. And it's really interesting because to watch inflation happen, and as I've said, we've talked about the inflation in the pre-owned car markets and the inflation in of course, the new car. Not too much inflation in the new cars because they're a little bit limited by what they can overcharge, but not on the pre-owned side. If the pre-owned car side is up 30% from pre-owned the pre-pandemic, number or price level, I would suggest that yes, that number is going to come down without question, but where it finishes falling is going to kind of be the new norm going forward. And I would suggest that's still going to be a lot higher than the pre-pandemic number. So we should see a lot of these prices, especially in home sales. There was a recent survey that came out that said 72% of recent home buyers have regrets about their purchases. And that's not surprising to me. Shouldn't be to you either. 72% of recent home buyers have regrets, said another way, about paying over list. And the second most common regret was rushing the home buying process, with 30% saying their purchase decision was rushed and 26% indicating they bought too quickly. But that's what happens in a mania. Now, what will be interesting to see, and we've talked about this as far as real estate goes, I don't think that we'll see not anytime soon. If it were to happen, I think this is way off down the road. Any kind of a crash in the real estate markets, especially like we saw in '08. But it'll be interesting because would go down in history maybe as one of the all-time pure manias that didn't end with the price crashing. And the reason being is there's simply still a supply and demand situation. And as long as that supply and demand situation is there, then it's going to be highly unlikely that we see the markets free fall into a crash or anything like that. I think what we'll see, though, is the battle back and forth between, definitely the process will slow down, even though there's still some reports that say that houses and real estate are still selling pretty quickly, probably not as quickly as during the mania days, which was just roughly about 3 to 4 months ago. But I think what you'll see is, with interest rates going up and mortgage rates going up into the 5.5% or so, people are taking a step back and going, do I really want to sell my house and buy a house right now? Because the payment just went up. So you got a situation where the payment goes up, and at the same time, the price is probably higher than you'd want to pay. So as I've always said, it comes down to whatever percentage of the buying market is in a situation where they don't really need to buy a house. They just wanted to buy a house because they kind of got caught up in the mad rush of things. But I think that you're going to see more and more people just say, you know what, I think we're going to take whatever money we would have sunk into maybe an overvalued house. And of course, to be fair, the value of a house is what somebody's willing to pay for it. But take those proceeds and redo our own house and remodel and do that kind of thing. But it is a very interesting scenario with everything that has happened so far this year with real estate. Like I've said in the past, this inflation that we have in this economy is very complicated because it affects so many different avenues and parts of the economy in kind of in different ways. Different price increases. Still the back to the car industry, automobile industry. The fact that you've got so much inventory, I wouldn't even be able to put a number on it, of new cars that can't be sold because they don't have chips, because of the chip shortage. Just really is really unbelievable when you look at the numbers. And where does this all stop? And I think what Wall Street's looking at right now and coming to the realization is that the economy, as much as we wish it were not, is slowing down at best and is losing growth at the worst case scenario. Remember, we're in two quarters of economic decline, even though the hosts of CNBC and all the various financial channels won't agree with the standard definition of a recession. I guess it's pick and choose what you want to believe depending on what the situation is. But we've had two consecutive quarters of economic loss, and that, my friends, is a recession. But yet, and we've talked about this, not everybody wants to agree with it. That first recession, that first quarter, because it wasn't expected. I think the fact it was unexpected makes it even a little bit more eye-opening. That's just my opinion. But they say don't count that one. That one's not we're not going to count that. Now let's see what happens going forward. I still think we could even get a third consecutive quarter of losses in the economy. So as that's happening, and you have the Federal Reserve Board raising interest rates to fight economy, it's like the economy's to fight inflation, my bad. The economy's just like taking a gut punch, and that's the kind of the good and the bad of what's going on here. So keep an eye on it, and I'll keep you posted. If you have a question for me, if you'd like to call on the program, the number to call is 1-877-913-5357. This is Bob Brooks. You got a question for me, please go to the website at www.prudentmoney. You know the drill. Go to the Ask Bob section, and I will answer you back. This is Bob Brooks. Stick around. Be right back. Welcome back. This is Bob Brooks, and you are listening to the Prudent Money Radio Show. 1-877-913-5357. I do have a line open. and I'd love to talk to you. Once again, the webinar, How to Create a Simple Retirement Plan, is tomorrow at 11 a.m. Thursday, 10 a.m. I made the wrong time. Wednesday tomorrow at 10 a.m., Thursday at 11 a.m., and Friday at noon. And I wrote a piece about this today. You can go check it out. One of the things we're going to be talking about is the imperfect retirement plan. And this is a concept that I came up with recently, just out of the preparation for this particular webinar, because the one question that goes without answer is one particular statistic that really stands out, and I think is the most alarming. 70% of people over the age of 50 to 74 don't have a retirement plan. Actually, it was not 70%, it was 67%. I would suggest that's a little bit on the low end. I think it's higher than that. Why is that the case? And that's a question that you can come up with a lot of different reasons. And I think it is a combination of reasons. But what came to me, what I was led to, was that we are taught that there is only one perfect retirement plan, and that is the one we strive for. And that's the one pop culture finance writes about all the time. They write, well, if you aren't saving 15% of your retirement, towards your retirement each year, then you're going to be behind. If you want the right retirement, the perfect retirement, save 15%. And I won't bore you. We'll talk about this tomorrow, more likely. Won't take the time to tell you why that's just not right. And so we look at this. We're supposed to have millions of dollars of retirement. You're supposed to put away all this money. And for some people that works. For some people who have unbelievable wealth, that is something that can be done. For the rest of us, we're trying to hit a perfect retirement scenario that pop culture finance says this is where you need to be, or you're not going to make it. It's just not very true. It's not a perfect retirement plan we're looking for. It's an imperfect, because it's based on an imperfect life. Change happens. Things happen. Scenarios get in the way. We have to maybe pay for kids for college, and we deem that as the most important thing at the moment, not retirement. It's not as if you can save X amount of dollars every month and get this great retirement. It comes down to the imperfect retirement is the perfect retirement. I'm going to talk about what I mean by that and how that works. And it's about designing a retirement plan that fits you and your family, specifically your strengths, your weaknesses, and most important, your values and your faith. One of the things I wrote this morning in this is there's only one you, imperfectly perfect, just the way God made you. Not this one size fits all scenario. So tomorrow, 10 a.m. is the first round one. Then Thursday and Friday, 11 and noon. So all you got to do is go sign up for it at prudentmoney.com, and I'll look forward to you being there. 1-877-913-5357. Well, what is the amount that we can withdraw from our retirement accounts and safely make it through retirement without spending all of the money that we've saved? There's an article out today that says J.P. Morgan says you can safely withdraw this much from your retirement accounts yearly. One of the mistakes that I think that pop culture finance makes with the articles like this that they put out is the fact that they say that this is something you can do that you can safely withdraw, especially when there's no guarantees involved. And I think that sends the wrong message. But the rule is, let's say that you have $500,000 in retirement assets. And so this says the standard rule is that you can draw 4% from that $500,000, and it's still, assuming you make more than 4%, still grows, and that should get you through retirement. Well, they're saying that, and listen to what they write. That's the rule that says retirees can safely draw down their savings by 4% per year without having to worry that they'll run out of money. Once again, I think that's a bad message to send. Now they come out and they say the 4% rule does not work anymore. We need to get rid of the 4% rule. And J.P. Morgan says that you should consider drawing down no more than 2 to 3% of your retirement savings. Once again, in a perfect world, 2 to 3%, if you had, I mean, you can do the math yourself. If you had $500,000, which is a lot of money, 2% of that $500,000 is only $14,000. Excuse me, my math's off today. Sorry about that. 2% is only $10,000 that you would be drawing off. That plus Social Security probably won't get you where you need. And then what they suggest doing, they said that the 4% rule called for your first year to take out 4%, and then your second year and on, take out the money based on the inflation rate. I can't begin to tell you how flawed that is. One of the things that I'm going to show you to build the best imperfect retirement plan that you can put together is we talk about know your unknowns. And the unknowns are the variables. How much money do you have? How much money are you taking out? We'll show you that it's really difficult, and you don't have to go by a particular rule. You can go by, once again, what works the best for your family. 1-877-913-5357 is the number to call, and I do have a line open. I wanted to read a question that came in. Dear Bob, I owed $94,000 on my house and was thinking about paying off my mortgage. What are your thoughts? Well, this is where having a financial plan really does come in to becomes very valuable, because you can run the numbers based on your plan and show paying off your mortgage early or keeping your mortgage going through retirement. Now, the ideal, perfect, I want to stress the word perfect scenario, is that you get the house paid down prior to retiring. I mean, that's the ideal situation. But not everybody is going to be able to do that. So it's about, can you work the mortgage into your retirement plan and still make retirement work? And one of the benefits that you can look at from that is that, let's say that you'll have it paid off at age 75. Well, at 75, that would mean that you'd get a raise because you wouldn't be making that $1,000 or $1,200 whatever payment that you were making to pay off your house. So it really comes down to running the numbers to see what would the scenario look like if I paid off my house versus what would the scenario look like if I didn't pay off my house. Some advisors would actually tell you that if you had the money to pay off the house, you should invest it, make that money work harder for you, then take that money out and pay off the house, and that works great. In a perfect world, that works great, but in an imperfect world, there's a lot of risk to taking that money. Because the bottom line is, once again, you want to get the house paid off and get that taken care of before retirement, and have no liabilities the best you can against debt. So against your assets. Excuse me. Hey, this is Bob Brooks. You got a question for me? Please go to the website at prudentmoney.com and send it in, because we are all out of time. Till we do meet again next time. Keep the faith and have a great rest of the day.
That's all the time we have for today. Questions or comments for Bob, or to find out more great information like what you've just heard, visit www.prudentmoney.com. Be sure to join Bob Brooks again for the next edition of Prudent Money.